All right, welcome back to the show. Today, I want to talk about, and a lot of shows that I do by myself, and I apologize. I think it's been a few shows since we've had a guest on. Um, we do have a couple guests lined up, but I also a lot of these shows I do on my own. They come up because of things that are either happening in my life, which you can probably tell by what I'm talking about, or things that I see, things that I'm reading, things that I'm learning, diving into. So a lot of that is kind of what's going on in my everyday life, and then I just feel, I guess, kind of inspired in a way to talk about it. And today is for whatever reason, and maybe it's who knows where my mind's been for the past week or so. Who knows? I don't know, but I keep running into a book that I'm reading. Actually, I think it was a Bible verse that I came across too. I saw a Facebook post that was kind of related to it, but basically it was boiled down to words matter and your thoughts matter. So your inner self-talk, and obviously I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not any of those but just want to talk about what kind of things that I've seen and kind of relate it to real estate investing or entrepreneurship. But words definitely matter, and this episode kind of spawned off of a Facebook post that I saw from a Facebook friend a week and a half ago. And I don't remember the entire post. I stopped reading. Usually when it's negative, I try my best to steer away from it. And actually, while I'm thinking of that, I'm going to back up a little bit. I think it was a Facebook post or Instagram post or whatever, related to all of this, where it said we need to slow down and appreciate the good things, the positive things. And they went on and talked more about it, but they gave an example of, think about when you're driving and there's a sunset, and you'll look over and be like, oh, that looks beautiful, that's great. And it's like a 2 or 3 second thing, right? And then if there's, on the other side of that, if there's a car accident, you've got all these people that are slowing down, stopping, taking pictures, videos, and just, I guess, drawn to the negative, which is kind of crazy. And as simple as that example is, it's true. Like, we all do it. Now I do my best to get past that accident as fast as I can, because I don't want to see it. But I think we need to all do that with just a lot of things that are negative. Some things we can probably work more towards improving or making better. But when it comes to like a car accident or something like that, obviously if there's help there and they're being taken care of, there's no need to slow down, stare, and all that. Instead, focus more on the positive, which is at the sunset, and take that in, which we're all doing it, right? In fact, there was another post. Again, I don't know why these keep hitting me right now, but there was another post that I saw. I think it said 95% of our inner thoughts are negative. And it may have been higher than that. It may have been 98, which is insane, right? We're kind of, and I've learned this about myself, and I know I've improved. I don't know where I'm at in that number, but I know at times I can catastrophize things. And I've talked a little bit about my fear of flying in the past, and that's gotten a ton better. But that's kind of when I started realizing that there are times where I catastrophize things. And it's not all the time, but flying was one of those things where really didn't have a reason for it, but for whatever reason, I was immediately thinking of all the worst possible outcomes that could happen. And obviously, the more repetitions I got, the more flying I did, the more positive self-talk I did, the more learning that I did. It helped me through that. And now I like flying. There's still a little bit of nervousness, but I like it. And even with me saying there's still a little bit of nervousness, I probably need to replace that with something more positive, right? But working on that. We're all working on things like that, right? But want to get back to this Facebook post that I saw, and it was a Facebook friend, and the gist of it was, he said, rich people donate to causes or to other people for themselves. So he was basically saying it was a selfish act, which, most of us, and I remember hearing this, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, where most of us do, I don't want to say not the main reason, but most of us, there's a part of us, we donate. It's somewhat selfish to make us feel good for helping others, right? But I don't think that's what he was getting at. I think he was just saying, I think he's got a and there's more to the post, but I think just reading it, it seems like there's more of a negative. He just sees rich people or so-called rich people in a negative light, which to me, he needs to completely change that. And I think, and I talked about this, I don't know, that was one of the first episodes I did. But I think just in society, there's a negative, there's just negative thoughts for the most part and negative words towards people that have money or so-called rich people. There's this stigma against them, right? And it's kind of embedded in our culture. But for this gentleman that wrote that, it's without a doubt holding him back. Now he's an old friend. I haven't talked to him in 20 plus years probably. So I'm not really sure what he's doing today. He could be completely successful. And obviously there's layers of being successful. There's, being a husband, being a father, all those things. There's other things than just money, but right now we're relating this to money because that's what his post was about. But the more thoughts and the more things that he's putting out there like that, guess what, dude? Like, you're not going to get rich. You've got a bad outlook on people that are so-called rich or have money. So you're probably, I don't know his position, but he's probably not so-called rich. He's probably more paycheck to paycheck. He's certainly not, you can call, I guess, I don't know if it's mentally rich, how I want to word it. I don't know, but he's certainly not, doesn't have an abundant mindset. So he needs to change that. And I'm picking on him. Who knows if he listens to the show or not? Probably not. But I'm picking on him. And we all do it, right? But this kind of goes back to anything you're doing with real estate investing or being an entrepreneur or whatever. What you feed yourself, what you consume is what's going to come out of you. Right. So if you're talking about, we just aren't having many move-ins this month. I don't know what's going on. Everyone's moving out. And that's been somewhat true for the past 3 to 4 weeks. We've had a ton of move-outs. But it's amazing. As soon as you start, maybe kind of let it hit you a little bit, but you've got to quickly switch it and think, okay, we're having people move out. It's seasonality, which happens. But how can we now get more people to move in? Or maybe can we find out why people are moving out? Basically, how can we fix this and turn it into a positive? And since we've had, I had a buddy say it was a Labor Day massacre with all these move outs that we've had. But we, since then, so in the past week and a half, 2 weeks, we've had, man, I don't know. I want to say we lost probably, I don't know, negative 30-ish move in, something like that. We've since had probably just about the same amount of people move back in, or move in, not back in because it's not the same people, but move in since then. Some of that is just timing. Some of that is maybe mindset that we have, and we're not focused on people that are moving out. Some of that is probably our call center. That is absolutely, we brought it, I haven't talked about it, but we brought it in-house, and it's improved. And we're only just about a month into it, but it's improved our overall, just business, operations. It's improved our communication with in-house. It's improved, customer relations, all that stuff. So it could be part of that, but I think it still goes back to mindset, right? If you're focused on the negative, which is what apparently 95% or somewhere in that number, that's what we're focusing on. So if you're focusing on the negatives, what do you think is going to come out of you? Imagine if you switch that just 5% more of your thoughts are positive. I mean, that could be a huge shift in your life. I would try to shoot more towards 50%. But as I say that, past couple days, I've probably been more of a negative mindset, to where maybe the entire days were more negative than positive. I don't even say that. Probably the entire days were just kind of negative. And there are a lot of things that can kind of suck us in. Weather can be one of those. Couple things go bad could be one of those. But somehow you got to figure out how to switch it, how to turn it into a positive. And actually, I talk about them a lot on here. Another thing that I saw was a couple days ago, Dan Martell was live on Instagram talking about this. It's weird. I don't know what the timing is. I don't know my algorithm or whatever, but I've been chasing kind of mindset and our internal words that we have to each other, to ourselves. So yeah, that's basically all I've got today, but it's, what you put out into this world, including in your mind, is what's going to come out of you. So whatever you're consuming, whatever you're talking to yourself about, it's going to come out, right? So if it's negative is going to come out of you. And it's not just business related. It's everything else in your life. Feed yourself positive stuff. You start hearing yourself, catching yourself being more negative and thinking of negative outcomes, flip it. And it's a trained muscle, right? None of us are perfect. Everybody does it. There's nobody on this earth. I don't care what they say. There's nobody on this earth that is 100% positive all the time, especially internally. But it's something that we can all work on daily. And I'll leave you with this. It kind of relates to this quote where whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. Right. So whether you think you can do something or you can't do something, you're right. Because that's, that's what you're feeding yourself, and that's what's going to come out of you. So that's all I've got today. Appreciate everyone listening. If you want to hop on the podcast, let me know. Even if you've been on before, if you got a story, everyone's got a story to tell. So don't be shy. Reach out. We'll love to have you on. And thanks for everyone for listening. See you next time.
Thanks for following, subscribing, and listening to this episode of the Do More podcast hosted by John Farling. To learn more or ask questions, go to l4investing.com.